Please welcome our next speaker, Vicky Kowaleski, a senior pre-sales business solutions architect. Today, she will be presenting Microsoft GP to Business Central. Please stick around after Vicky's session for a live Q&A.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to DynamicsCon 2021. I'm Vicky Kowaleski. I'm with Columbus Global, and I'm super excited to be here with you today to talk about your journey to the cloud, Dynamics GP to Dynamics 365 Business Central. Throughout the presentation, if you have questions, there's a chat box. Please feel free to share your questions in the chat box. Again, super excited to be here with you. Let's start talking about our migration from GP to Business Central. So who am I and why am I here with you today? Again, my name is Vicky Kowaleski. I'm with Columbus Global. I've been with the team since April of 2019. However, I've been in the Dynamics channel for over 20 years. I started my career as an accountant and then jumped into Dynamics consulting for the last 20 years and loved every minute of it. I've been working with Dynamics GP and Dynamics SL since 2000, and I migrated over to Dynamics 365 Business Central in 2018. I began my journey in the Dynamics channel with GP version 6 and Dynamics SL version 7 for all of you in the channel a long time like myself. Let's talk about our agenda today. Our time together, we're going to talk about our GP roadmap. We're going to talk about exactly what is Business Central and what are the advantages and differences with Business Central. We'll give you a little bit of information about planning your Business Central migration, and then we'll talk about what customers are saying that have actually done their migration to Business Central. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I wanted to share some important information with you about the GP lifecycle. There is the links here in my presentation that will take you to the actual Microsoft site to share the GP lifecycle with you. As of the October 2019 release, Dynamics changed their lifecycle and they moved to a modern policy, which offers continuous support and service, including bug fixes and new features and the latest tax updates. Part of that modern life cycle is that you may take advantage of at least one of the 3 yearly planned updates to stay in compliance with that life cycle policy. There is information for Dynamics GP out through 2024. I wanted to share some particular information about various versions of GP. You can see here I went back as far as GP 10. I do have some customers still on that version. And in this slide, I wanted to share with you the mainstream support date as well as the extended support date because those are important. When GP is in the mainstream support, you will get support from Microsoft through the support date. So you can see for 2013 and 15, we are past Microsoft's mainstream support date. We do fall into compliance for 2013 and 15 for extended support. And what that means is if there would be any security patches that need to be shared with you for your GP 2015 or 2013 versions, they will be available to you. So you can see in GP 2013, extended support goes out till 2023. And then 2025 for 2015. The biggest one to note is for our GP 2016 users, July will end your mainstream support, so there'll be no additional updates. So if you are a year-end update person that needs access to W-2s and 1099s and rates and things like that that are provided in the year-end update, you'll want to pay close attention to your GP 2016 because those won't be available. So you'll want to start thinking about that migration to the cloud sooner rather than later. So let's talk a little bit about what's actually creating that interest in Dynamics Business Central. A lot of my clients were on a really old version of GP. And so when we started doing some planning and looking at what it would take to upgrade their GP, they were on an aging server, and that puts them at risk, right, for data loss due to older infrastructure. So the cost of a new server and the cost to update their GP drove us to look at migrating to the cloud and what Business Central had to offer. The other thing that is generating interest is the total cost of ownership. As you know, GP users pay a yearly enhancement fee for access to the current version of GP, and then they pay an annual fee, an annual services cost to upgrade GP with their partner. And then along with the server cost of maintenance and support, the total cost of ownership between Business Central and GP, when you look at it, is a lower total cost of ownership. So again, driving some excitement in the community to take a look at going to the cloud. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. Mobility, it's important for us, definitely in today's world, to have access to our accounting software and to be able to work from anywhere. So as long as you have an internet connection, you would be able to get to Business Central and work in your accounting system. Reporting is another driver. So with Dynamics Business Central, there's an integration with Power BI. So it gives you the ability to generate those powerful dashboards and share information on a real-time basis versus having your accounting team have to gather the data and manipulate it and then send out the reports. Power BI integration is important. There is dimensions in Business Central, which is also very attractive, in that you can tag your data with dimensions, and then you can slice and dice your data down in dimensional reporting. And the last item that I wanted to share with you is Office 365 integration. So you can boost efficiency in your organization when you connect your Office 365 tenant with your Business Central tenant. And right from in your Outlook window, if you get an email from a vendor that says, hey, I need to know the status of 123, invoice 123, your tenants are connected, so your user would not have to go launch Business Central. They would be right from in their Outlook, be able to answer that vendor, query the data, and send them back the necessary reply. On the sales side, you can do quote to cash. So you can have your customer send you an email that says, I need a quote for 150 widgets. You can generate that quote right from in your Outlook and send it over to your customer. They accept the quote to an order, and then we can invoice it and go all the way to cash application. So again, the tighter integration with Microsoft products is another driver to have our GP users look at the cloud. So what is Business Central? Actually, it's the next gen cloud-based platform. You'll hear in the channel, a lot of information shared that it's Dynamics Nav. And it is built on Nav, but it is Nav was on-prem, and this is a cloud-based version of it. And I also make sure that my users know Microsoft is really listening to that channel and to the users, and they've added things in GP like smart lists, because those were near and dear to my GP users' heart. Microsoft is paying attention and really trying to make it the next gen platform, and they've added smart list functionality inside of Business Central. It's really an all-in-one tool, and it helps businesses work together without silos. So automating tasks and connecting and sharing data between solutions is a lot easier with Business Central. So we're going to go ahead and take a minute to actually jump into Business Central. I'm excited to show it to you. If this is the first time you're seeing it, it is different than GP. The interface is completely different, but you'll see once I'm in there, navigation is very easy. I'm excited to show you. Hang tight. Okay, I'm in Business Central. This is the landing page for Business Central. So when you log in, you will see this as your home page. I'm logged in as an accountant, so I'm going to go up here and show you under settings, my settings. I'm logged in as business manager, but it's very easy to switch between the various roles already set up for you in Business Central. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to accountant. One of the other areas I like to mention when I'm showing GP users BC is that when you want to switch between companies, it was a lot more points and clicks and entering user information. Here in Business Central, you'd come into my settings and you'd go over to company, and you'd be able to select the company that you want to jump into very easily. You have work date, region, language, and how you're receiving notifications. This is all under my settings. Notice when I switch account to accountant, it will filter and it will change my homepage and the areas available to me based on the role on the accountant. The next thing I'd like to talk about here is the search bar or the tell me bar. In Business Central, to navigate through the solution, if I want to see vendors, I type in my search bar and I type in vendor, and it shows me throughout the whole solution where vendors are available. So you can see on the current page, I have 7 areas where vendors are available. If I want to go to my vendor lists, which is vendor cards in GP, I can go to the lists. I can navigate to 26 reports that involve vendors. And lastly, I have documentation. It's all online, so I could navigate to the various documentation for vendors. And then App Source. So these are add-ons that are sitting in Microsoft App Source where our ISVs have their solutions listed, and you would be able to see what is an app source to add on to Business Central. Again, that is using the search bar. You do not have to navigate Business Central that way. It's just easier when I'm trying to share information to type it in and navigate quick. The other thing to mention, again, this is your homepage. If you want to go to your chart of accounts, you can use the hyperlink saved bookmark on your homepage, and it will open up your chart of accounts. And so I call this the landing page or the list page. If I go ahead and open an account, it's very similar to Dynamics GP. So this would be your card in GP. And this is the necessary information that we'd have to capture in order to set up an account and use it in Business Central. You have notes over here available on the account card. And then if you wanted to navigate, instead of having to jump out and go to transactions or go into inquiries like you do in GP, you just simply come over here and you can go to reports. You can go to actions and enter a journal entry relating to this account. You can look up balances and so forth. So you can navigate to other areas in Business Central. So again, that's this is the account list, same for vendors. So if I use the hyperlink on my homepage for vendors, it will open up my vendor list page, and it will show you the handful of vendors that I have set up in this demo database. I love over here how it shows statistics and vendor history. These are all hyperlinked amounts. So if I'm in accounts payable and I want to see if an invoice has been entered already, so it's not a duplicate, I could click on this $2,400 and see what invoices make that up. So again, I think you can see Microsoft, really is doing what they're saying they're doing and making this a modern platform of what we're used to in other solutions that we use every day on the internet with drawbacks and opening up data. So I was excited to show that. So let's talk about Business Central and how the licenses are arranged. You can see here I have information relating to Essentials and Premium. So when you are working with your partner to talk about Business Central, the licensing is a little bit different than GP. There are essential users and premium users. And so what I wanted to do is just share with you what's available in each of those licenses. So in the Essentials license, you get all the functionality listed on the screen. So from the financial management, you do have CRM functionality, you have supply chain management, you have human resource information, project management. That's all available to you in the Essentials license. Now, if you are a user that needs service order management, so service work orders, or you need manufacturing functionality, that would push you to the premium license. So in the premium license, you get everything above that comes with Essentials, and then you get the added functionality of service and manufacturing. So let's talk through some of the advantages of Dynamics Business Central. I think that you can agree based on the brief time we spent in Business Central just a second ago, it's an improved user experience. Navigating in the tool is a more modern look and feel, and the way that we share data and we're able to drill back to data to get our answers quicker is definitely an advantage. So opportunities on the go, mobile, based on everything that we've been through last year, it was important for my users to be able to work from home. So we've seen a lot of my GP users migrate to Business Central so that they were able to access it from anywhere they had an internet browser. We talked through the reduction in infrastructure costs, right? So if it is truly cloud-based like Business Central, there's no more of maintaining a server and a server room for your on-prem solution. Let's talk about system updates. We mentioned that there would be no need to continue to pay for services to upgrade your on-prem GP solution. Microsoft will push out updates to Business Central. And the way they do it is, I think is really slick. So they will, based on the admin console, they'll email the user and let them know that they're getting ready to push out a new version. If you do have extensions in your BC platform, they will ask you, you can set up in your admin console, do you want those updates to go straight to production, or would you prefer them to go to your sandbox so you'd be able to test them? I've even had users receive emails that when they did have an extension in Business Central, if there was going to be a conflict with the update coming out, they would let them know that, hey, it seems like there's a conflict with this customization or this extension in Business Central. You may want to take a look at it. So it's very interactive, very easy for a user to follow it in the admin console for Business Central. The increased integration is huge. I know my users are really liking the functionality added to Office 365, again, to get business done faster and to get answers out the door faster. And then the powerful BI analytics that is available with the integration of Power BI. Let's talk through some of the differences in Business Central. One of the biggest differences that I wanted to share with you is the licensing. So we talked about the essential and premium users. The licensing model is $100 per user per month for the premium user. The essential user is $70 per user per month. And then just like with GP, there's a limited user, it's called a Teams user, and that's $8 per user per month. Keep in mind that main difference between premium and essential is that manufacturing and service order management belong to the more expensive user, the premium user. One thing to note is that if your GP enhancement is current, Microsoft offers a 40% discount on those user licenses. So your essential user, for all the functionality listed between finance, supply chain, project management, CRM, is with the 40% discount, that $70 user goes to $42 per user per month. And then your premium user would go to $60 per user per month, which I think is a huge savings. So keep that in mind when you're talking with your partner through your cloud migration or your journey to the cloud. Supplemental software and hardware and system integrations is another difference on how BC interacts. We have APIs available in Business Central to be able to connect your Business Central data to other platforms, whether that be time entry or a document management solution, things like that. And then lastly is that modern business process. I think you all agree when I showed you the screens and how to navigate with the search bar and how to get to your vendor list that showed interactively the balances in the accounts. It's really, Microsoft is doing what they're saying. They're really supporting that modern business process. So let's spend a couple minutes talking about planning for your BC migration. Keep in mind, if you're on GP and you're interested in what that journey to the cloud is and what BC has to offer and what it looks like, let's talk about some planning for it. The first thing you want to do is contact your partner, people that can help you who have done this regularly, right? We've spent a lot of time in GP. We know GP well. We spent the time in Business Central. We've learned everything we needed to learn to help you with a successful migration. So definitely call your partner and they'll walk through a demo with you. They'll walk through calculating an ROI on what happens if I stay on GP. I've done total cost of ownerships with my clients that look out 5 years and compare the two of staying on-prem GP or moving to the cloud. So definitely, recruit some of that expertise. The next thing that I've been working with my users is to document key business processes. GP is a different platform from BC, different user interface, a different way to get things done. And so what I suggest is, if you're not ready, but you want to do some planning, is really have your users document what reports they're using in GP, who are the audience of those reports. Do we have any customizations that we need to take into consideration that have supplied functionality in GP that we need to verify is in Business Central? really work with your users, your subject matter experts, and document what you have in your current system, just to make sure nothing's missed when you're talking about migrating to Business Central. The other thing that I want to talk about is data maintenance. So, we all get busy, and maybe we don't spend enough time looking at our master records at year end to mark any that are inactive or we don't want to use going forward. So there is definitely some areas in data maintenance that you can spend in your GP environment that will help make a successful migration to Business Central. I do want to talk about data migration. I mentioned it earlier when we kicked off this session. Data migration can happen multiple ways when you're moving from GP to BC. One thing to keep in mind is there is a migration utility that Microsoft has developed for us. That migration utility requires you to be on GP 2015 or higher and SQL 2016 or higher. If you meet those requirements, we can use the migration utility to bring over your master records, your open items, and your transactional data. The one thing to note though is if you have 20 years of data in your GP environment and you say to me, Vicky, I really only want to bring 10 years forward to BC, I don't need that old stuff, I can't do that for you. I'd have to migrate your data a different way, because if we use the utility, it's an all or nothing migration. So I'd have to bring over all 20 years into Business Central. The other thing to note is when I do bring over that transactional data, let's take, for instance, I bring over your AP records. When I bring the data from GP, it doesn't go right into your Business Central tables. It goes to, the table format was so different that it goes to another area for you to query. So when you open, say you open your Columbus vendor and you go to look at the transactions in history, you're only going to see the ones you paid out of BC. If you want to see the GP data that we migrated over, it just takes a couple more clicks to query that GP data. It is in your BC instance, but you just have to query it a different way. If we don't use the migration utility to migrate your data, don't get panic or get upset. We can export the data from GP and we can import it using config packages in BC. So you don't have to manually enter your master records or your open items. So if we do the export and import, we bring over your master records, your open items, and then your GL net change balances to do financial comparative reporting. So multiple ways to do it. Definitely recruit your partner to talk through that. And that is the last step I said here. Don't do it alone. Definitely reach out and we'll be happy to help you. So what customers are saying about their migration, I was very excited when we started to move our GP to BC customers. I had asked to really stay as part of that project, just so that I could see the reaction and see the differences that it made with our customers. A lot of the ones that we've done to date, the benefit that seems to be common is the communication between the team. So in BC, you have more areas to write notes. So instead of having to look at a little square Post-it and see squigglies to know there's a note on that vendor, there's really bold indications on the right-hand side of that vendor screen that there's a note associated with that vendor. So in the area of communication and collaboration, my users thought there was a lot of benefit to Business Central. Being able to customize Business Central, the adding an extension to Business Central is a lot easier than it was adding it to GP. And so for my users that needed some more pointed functionality, doing those extensions and adding them to Business Central was a lot easier. So they found that to be a lot of a benefit. Everybody gets anticipation, right? And thinking, oh, moving to a new platform, that's so much work. It's, everybody kind of gets that anxiety. But I was very excited to hear when my users were saying to me it was much easier than we anticipated. We thought it was going to be a huge deal and there was going to be a lot of issues, and it's simply not the case. And then one of the other ones that I wanted to share with you is really I had a user share the increased visibility and changing their supply chain process in Business Central. Really being able to have a salesperson enter a quote in Outlook and then promote that quote all the way through order, pick, pack, ship, invoice, and cash receipt was huge to their organization. It really added benefit to it. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes for some last minute items. I really enjoyed my time today with you, talking a little bit about GP and BC and the differences and the benefits. I hope if you are thinking about the cloud journey, you definitely reach out to your partner that further. It's a very exciting time. Been in the channel a long time. GP and SL are very near and dear to my heart, but I'll tell you, Business Central wormed its way in there. I really like the application. So I'm really excited. And I was excited to be able to share that with you today for DynamicsCon 2021. I have some links in my presentation that will take you to some webinars and some blog posts that we've done with migrating your GP to Business Central. I think they're beneficial for you. I also included a link for you to get to the Business Central documentation. Different than your on-prem GP, my Business Central's documentation is on the web, and it's continuously updated. They do a really good job of getting that information out there. So again, I hope this helped. If you're starting that journey to the cloud and you're thinking about migrating from GP over to Business Central, thank you for spending your time with me. I really had enjoyed this session and doing this with you. So now let's head over and take some time to work through our questions and do a live Q&A chat. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, I think we got one question. You ready, Vicky?
I'm ready.
Does anyone have insight into what GP partners typically charge to transition from GP to Business Central 360?
It really depends on the modules that you're currently using in GP. We definitely look at it from a project perspective, and so we do during the migration process an analysis and design to talk through what you're currently using in GP and what we'll need to train you in BC. When we create a sandbox and migrate over some master records. So it's a whole project approach. I don't know that we have a typical cost, but that's something if we can get more details, we can help with.
Great. They're also asking to discuss a little bit about the history that can be migrated over.
Yeah, that's if you are on GP 2015 or higher and SQL 2016 or higher, there is a migration utility that Microsoft has developed that will bring over the details in your GP database. Keep in mind, it's all or nothing. So if you want, if you have 20 years of history in GP and you say, Vicky, I just want you to bring 10 years, I have to bring 20 years. It's all or nothing. The subledger information does come over. Just keep in mind that it stores it a little bit differently. So what I tell my GP users is that for an AP transaction, if you do an inquiry in BC, you'll see in the inquiry screen the checks that you wrote out of Business Central. But if you want to see the history, so the checks paid from your GP solution, you just have to do a couple more clicks to get to the tables to query that history. So the subledger history does come over. Querying it's just a little bit different than doing a regular inquiry in BC.
Perfect. There's also a question, is there a hybrid version of Business Central?
Hybrid, meaning like on-prem and in the cloud, or hybrid between BC and GP? Do we have any further details on that one, Vanessa?
No, not one, but maybe chat about both those examples again.
Okay. I didn't catch that last part, Vanessa. Sorry.
Sorry, sounds like I'm breaking up. Here's the next question. How can custom written apps for GP be used with BC?
So if you have development done in your GP environment, you definitely want to talk through that with your partner. One, you want to identify if you still need that in Business Central, and usually during our analysis and design phase, we can determine that. If you still need that customization to support workflows internally in your organization, we can develop that extension for you. it is different code, so it would have to be rewritten into BC and added as an extension in BC.
And then we had a follow-up on that one question about if there's a hybrid version of Business Central.
Okay.
And this is about on-prem and cloud. So is there any kind of hybrid version between it?
No. So there's BC, true SaaS BC in the cloud, or there's on-prem BC, but I'm not aware of a hybrid version.
Yep. Okay, next question from Angela is, how long does it take on average to complete the migration? And where do most companies struggle with their transition?
So again, I think depending on how deep the project is, will dictate how slow. So again, if it's just GLAPAR, we could go pretty fast. There's not a lot of training involved there. But if we have extended modules, say we need distribution, or we're using service or project, that extends the training schedule. But I would say typically about a 3-month process from beginning to end. Again, depending on what we need in our solution. And that includes, like I said, an analysis and design phase, migrate the master records into a sandbox so that when we do your training, it's near and dear to your heart. And then we train the users and work through user acceptance testing, making sure we can replicate everything in BC that we do in GP. And then, as long as we're on track and everything's lining up, then we schedule a go live date and migrate everything over into production, and then support through first month end close. And so I would say typically 3 months. And then to answer your second part of that question, I think a couple things that I always try to prepare my users for is that it's truly a different interface. So I think what I try to encourage is everybody kind of has been in GP for a long time, so you know the screen flow, right? You know the workflow, you know how to navigate quick in and out of the screens and to get the data that you want. I just ask everybody to be patient with themselves, because they'll get there with BC too. It just might take, after the first couple month-end closes where everybody's just really comfortable with, this is where I go to get my information. So it's a different interface. That does not make it bad. I think it's an improved interface. I think it's an improved way to get at your data more easily than we have in GP. I think the other area where we spend some time collaborating with our clients is data migration, and truly understanding what comes over into GP if you're not using the migration utility, and then just how are we going to keep our GP instance live so we can have it for view only? Are we going to try to export some of that data in using SmartList into PDF for reference purposes? Just kind of working back and forth on what that looks like for a go live, for a migration.
Great. And you partly answered another question on here about, do we have any stats on companies moving from GP to BC? How many have done this successfully? And what modules and technologies do we see them continuing to use from GP side as they move to Business Central?
Yeah, I mean, I can share our personal experience. Vanessa and myself have worked closely with the rest of the Columbus team. We have migrated a good number of our GP clients over to BC, and we've had migrations that included both the service module or the project module. So clients are finding value in those modules in Business Central in that functionality. So I don't have numbers per se. I do know we are actively working with our clients, and the experience when we follow up after a migration is positive, and that they really like the new interface and being able to access it anywhere. We've got a handful of clients that are really excited about the Office 365 integration. So, really being able to do quote to cash right from inside your email is a big deal for some of our clients as well. So they're seeing the benefit of the solution, which is always exciting for us.
Mm-hmm. There was another question from Jason. Is there an integration between Dynamics 365 CRM and Business Central?
So keep in mind, Business Central does come with some CRM functionality, but if you're already a CRM user, there is integration that we can do between the two platforms. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like he has already integration with GP, so I want to make sure that they could do it.
Yep, you can do that.
All right. Then we had a question from Benjamin. Does Business Central support project accounting?
It does. It does have project jobs, full functionality. So yeah, it does. And there's been 2 of our clients that used Wensoft that are now just using Business Central jobs. So definitely take a look at it and evaluate the functionality. But I think you'll like what you see.
Mm-hmm. And there's a few different questions just in general about GP 2018 support ending in 2023, and does this mean GP there'll be no more version?
Yeah, we don't really know what Microsoft is. They have a life cycle link, which I think I included in my presentation, and I think extended support. Don't quote me on the dates, but I think extended support runs out to 2025. Which remember, extended support includes if there's any security patches that need to come out. They have committed to regular releases, I believe through 2024. But again, it's probably best to check that lifecycle link periodically to see if there's any updates from Microsoft.
Right. Then we had another question about, does Business Central include manufacturing?
There is manufacturing functionality in Business Central, and I, recommend actually almost doing like a proof of concept based on the functionality that you need between the two. But we do have our clients that have migrated over and are using the manufacturing functionality in Business Central. Any other questions for us?
Let me see if there's anything else coming in. There was some conversation around E1 Smart Connect, and does it still work with integrations to Business Central?
It does. We do have a good number of our clients using E1. There is an integration to Business Central. Keep in mind, Business Central does have the config packages, so similar to Integration Manager in GP, but we do have a lot of our clients using E1, so it does work well.
Another question from Deborah. Do partners have access to their customers' data?
Do partners have access to the customer's data? I mean, not without having a user assigned to work with them. I mean, we don't have direct access, no. Coming in, Vanessa?
I think we've gotten through, we gotten through the original list, so I'll give a minute to see if anyone has other questions. Oh, okay, we have one that's come in from Bill. If partners access support and solve a problem, do they have to have a user license for that site? I think this might be without PSP, you get a partner access. Maybe about that, Vicky?
Okay, and is he asking if he needs to continue for something in Business Central?
If we are asked to support or solve a problem, do we have to have a license to access their Business Central site?
Yes, we need a license. We need a license to access Business Central. Yeah, we don't have a direct link. I mean, we would work through them to make sure we have login information to help them.
Nothing else coming in right now. I see a familiar face in this chat. Hi, Jamie. From another Jamie, many companies still utilize Jet reports with Business Central 365, or have the Business Central reporting tools been expanded to allow more customizable reporting options?
So there is a good number of reporting tools available with Business Central. So our GP users are used to having Management Reporter. The Management Reporter doesn't migrate over with Business Central. If that is a solution that the users are comfortable with, we do introduce them to Jet Reports as an add-on to their Business Central environment. So that answer to that is yes. We do have a tight alliance with Jet Reports, and we do have a number of users that wanted that type of an experience, like Management Reporter, and just couldn't get what they needed out of Core Business Central. But available inside of Core Business Central are canned reports, account schedules, are ways to get reporting out of the solution. So usually during a migration, we'll work with the users to understand exactly what they're producing, both operational reporting and financial reporting, and then we'll make a recommendation on whether that is best fit by the core solution, if we should look at Power BI, which integrates tightly with Business Central, or if Jet Reports is the right solution. So working closely with your partner, you can identify which way you need to go for reporting needs.
We had another question coming from Laura. Does the migration tool pull information for bank rec? Example, outstanding check.
Well, you might have stumped me on that one, Laura. We may need to get back to you on that one. I mean, I think it would come over as an open item because it does bring over open items, but I think we're going to need to get back to you on that one.
And then we also had another reporting question. Does BI license free for BC users?
Does BI licenses what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Vanessa.
Yep. Our Power BI license is free for Business Central.
You're getting into an area that I might not be able to help you with on the licensing piece.
I can help answer that it's not free, right? But they do have the desktop version that is free, but it doesn't come as an additional. Okay. I think we have maybe a cutoff coming up. We're about to begin another session shortly, so I'll see if there's any last questions.
Oh wait, on the Power BI, Vanessa, Josh is helping us out here from our team. He said you need a license to publish to other users and allow those users to make edits.
Oh, there you go.
Does that help?
Up until like someone else made a note that you get a Power BI license for Business Central, no extra fees. We'll have to check that too.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thanks, Josh, for helping out. Thanks, everybody, for your questions. We're going to go ahead and exit for the next session. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Vicky.